Welcome to VPG's Virtual Water Cooler Chat Podcast, a platform that features professionals across a variety of industries and promotes growth mindset principles with a central pillar of championing the achievements of women. Our conversations explore a wide spectrum of backgrounds, experiences, and perspectives, creating a vibrant mosaic that enriches our collective understanding and strengthens our commitment to growth and empowerment. Today, we're speaking with Jason Harrier, founder and general counsel of IP Copilot, an AI-driven idea management platform designed to identify and facilitate the sharing of the best ideas within organizations. Prior to joining IP Copilot, Jason served as the head of IP at Plaid, a fintech company that provides essential infrastructure for sharing financial information, and Chief Patent Counsel at Capital One, where his team established the largest patent portfolio among financial institutions. He frequently shares his insights on patent program growth, innovation discovery, inventor engagement and recognition, enterprise AI usage policies, and the emerging opportunities of AI in the IP profession. Let's get started.
Hello, Jason Harrier. How are you doing today?
I'm great, Ashley.
Thank you.
Thanks for having me here.
Oh my God, thank you so much for coming.
My first podcast. So,
well,
honored
we'll
to be
make
here.
this memorable. How about that? So I really appreciate you treading all the way from Arlington to here.
Not too bad. Nice, beautiful day today.
Yeah, we'll make sure that you get out in early enough so that you beat the traffic going back. So first thing first, who is Jason Harrier and what inspired you to find IP Copilot?
I'm a patent attorney. I've been through everything a patent attorney can be through. I started at the patent office. Went from the patent office to a small boutique law firm. I went to Kenyon & Kenyon where I did patent litigation. I was a partner at the same boutique law firm doing mostly prosecution, some litigation, and then I went to Capital One. It was really my experience at Capital One that led ultimately to IP Copilot. I can give you a little bit of the backstory about Capital One. Capital One had a small patent program since its founding, but they had probably under 200 inventors all time in the company's history up till 2017. And they had probably had under 200 patents. And so Ariana Woods joined what she thought was kind of a small patent program. And then within a few months, they determined that it would be beneficial to really drive innovation culture and build a bigger patent portfolio. And so I came over shortly after, and we had to build this culture of innovation. And that's where I really recognized that the most rewarding thing I was doing in my career was helping innovators become inventors. That was just so rewarding to me, working with folks. Everything starts as an idea. Everything in this room started as an idea. It wouldn't exist if no one thought of it. And so capturing those ideas and helping folks take their ideas and ultimately become inventors and get recognized for those ideas was like so special for me. And I really enjoyed that. We can get into more about like that process, but that was ultimately what led to IP Copilot. We built a really significant program at Capital One over 4 years. We went from, I think, under 200 inventors in 20 years all time to 1,400 or 1,500 active inventors at the company, which is I'm most proud of that stat. Got so many people involved and built a huge innovation culture there. And we had gone through struggles with the existing software that's available for managing ideas and managing patent applications and prosecution. And everyone knows like the players and everyone knows how they feel about using that type of software. And it was frustrating and it slowed our team down and it wasn't a great experience for the innovators. I later went to Plaid and became the head of IP at Plaid. I was their first IP attorney ever and went through kind of the same process of like reviewing available tools to track innovation and manage our portfolio, and nothing was great. At Capital One, we had some really prolific inventors. One of our most prolific inventors, Austin Walters, had some free time. And even when I was at Capital One, our team was always going to Austin's team. They were one of our most prolific inventor groups. So we worked with them quite a bit. We're like, can you guys just build us like something that would help us out here? Because we had this huge fire hose of ideas that were coming in. We always struggled to review them and make decisions. And I always called it like providing the best customer service for the inventors, because inventors at a company are ultimately your customers as patent counsel. And you want them to have a wonderful, delightful, rewarding experience so they come back with their next great idea. Went to Austin when we were at Capital One. We're like, can you just build us something? But it's like a huge investment for a company to like spin out a team to build something. So when Austin had some free time, I said, Austin, you should do the thing. You should build the next generation IP management tool. I said, I'll advise you, So I was an advisor originally at IP Copilot. We started looking at like the IP management system itself, essentially a better version of what already exists. But I got Austin in touch with most of the people that I know that are in-house so he can interview them and see what their pain points are. And talk to inventors that we know that were at other companies. What are your pain points? And, we quickly discovered that it's the top of funnel, I call it. That was one of the most challenging things, and it was untouched by the market. And by top of funnel, I mean, how do you find the innovation within a company to begin with? And how do you get robust disclosures of that information so you can make filing decisions? And then how do you actually make good filing decisions? And so that's where IP Copilot started, was how do we create this experience where it's easier, way less friction to get the ideas from inventors' heads to the IP council so you can actually make decisions on. And so then he started building that. And after about a year and a half, we did a seed round. And as part of the seed round, I came over full time, and I've been here for about 4 or 5 months now. That's the short version of it.
That's the short version. Wow. You summarized it so nicely, but I'm sure there's so many lessons learned along the way.
Yeah.
As Founders Insight, this is what the episode is called. And I was like, I just really wanted to hear from patent attorney that just kind of go into entrepreneurial route instead of like just going in, because I interviewed John Stroud. He's really, really good friend and also a great client. And I asked him about why he decided to go from private law into GC at Unify. So you went in-house, Cap One, Plaid. What made you decided to jump from that to something that is completely unpredictable? I mean, obviously there's great amount of fulfillment and satisfaction of finding your own company or co-finding your own company, but were you scared?
Yeah, it was scary. It was probably less scary. It was less of a dive into the pool as it was wading in from the very shallow end for me, just because I started as just an advisor while I was at Plaid. And I was happy to advise a friend, an inventor who I knew was brilliant. And I was kind of spoiled because I'm getting to design the perfect tool for my program. And so I was like, this is great. They're going to build exactly what I'd love to use at Plaid. It started off just as advising. As things picked up and it gained steam, we did investment. There was enough traction at the company. It wasn't a blank slate anymore. There was a tool and people really wanted it, and it was getting traction. Investors were impressed. And so by the time I made it was actually a very difficult decision. I love Plaid. The team there is absolutely brilliant. Some of the best lawyers I've ever worked with, and a wonderful manager, wonderful general counsel. The company is just a really great culture, and I loved it there. But at the end of the day, it was kind of a cool thing to do, to join as a founder, because I helped start it initially and I could make my own role. So I became general counsel, why not?
Why not?
So to become like a founder and general counsel of a company that I had a big hand in helping bring to fruition was an exciting thing to do at the end of the day. It was actually a very tough decision to make, that jump. I'm glad I did. It's been a great experience so far, and it's a cool thing to do, and it's exciting. I've never done that before. So throughout my career, I've always thought that do something until there's something really exciting or more exciting to do that you haven't done before, and then might as well do that next thing until there's something that seems more exciting. While Plaid was super fulfilling and exciting too, this is
Well, the thing is so I founded my company 5 years ago.
Yeah.
So now it's 5 years going into the second. When I first started, it was mostly out of the fact that I was burned out. My dad passed in 2017. So I've always been in litigation, first in construction and then later in patent litigation. So for patent, I have done probably over 20 plus years now. Yeah, started at 3. You probably started at 3 too. So I thought that I didn't want to really deal with the emotions part of it in the grieving. And so the best thing to do is just, make that overtime and just keep working. And, that's not short of hours if you really want to work. And so finally, I think 2019 is when I finally was like, I really cannot do this anymore. And I think that it was just an epiphany because my dad passed rather suddenly. He passed in 4 hours. He had basically slept in a restroom at a restaurant, and then by the time that he was taken to the hospital, he had basically lost oxygen for over 10 to 15 minutes.
Oh my.
So we had to make decision about whether we want him to live in a coma, and everybody, the family was actually there, so everybody was like, no, he wouldn't want that. We already had all the paperwork done, and I remember that being in legal, you kind of know all of this stuff, so I asked the ER doctors, I have all my paperwork here. I was like, oh no, all of you guys are here. Yeah, we will take care of it. Don't worry. And then I think it was that moment that really became very surreal and I'm the eldest of the 3 children. So I had to take care of a lot of the paperwork, and, it was just really, really tough. My dad used to tell me, as an immigrant, because I'm originally from Hong Kong, my parents used to have a Chinese restaurant in Lawrence, Kansas. And so there's a certain part of risk taking, but contrasting with income insecurity.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, you need to work and you need to make the money. Oh, it doesn't matter if you work so hard. You should be really grateful that you have a good job. So for the longest time, that's the main motivation. I wasn't really sure that I was good at anything else other than filing. But I later find out I'm good at plenty of other things, so
Yeah,
that's
of course.
good. But I think 2019 was when it's really a turning point. It's like, really thought about having that epiphany of, life can just be gone like that.
Yeah.
So what do I do? Do I continue to, just work, or do I want to do something different? So then I started looking into other things, talk to different people, and a friend of mine also had something similar. She came from another large firm, and she kind of talked me through, and she does like trial stuff, whereas I prefer to do like filing behind the scene. It worked out really well. That's kind of how I got started. And you asked earlier, it's like, where's your office? Well, started in my basement, but I always have an office in Reston at the RTC West. So it's basically just, a WeWork space. If I ever feel like that, oh, basement's too cold, don't want to work here today, and I'll just go there and wanted to be around people. And of course, I started in January 2020, and then COVID was March.
Yeah.
But it actually worked out really good for me, because then people started getting comfortable to the idea about working from home. And then there's like people that have really tested my service, and I don't take on too much, because one of the things is like I needed to take care of my mom. She lives with me and she doesn't drive. So there's a lot of things that I need to juggle. But overall, 5 years, there's a lot of lessons learned. Sometimes it's like filing is very nerve-wracking. That I do only PTAP and ex parte. So the fees have just gone up. Have you heard?
Yeah, they're getting expensive.
Oh my God. It was like for a ex parte, a non-streamline, it's $13,545. And for IPR, it's $51,875.
I didn't realize it was that high.
It was that high. It was
Wow.
25% increase. It used to be 41,000 something, but they had a 25% increase. So sometimes it's like, some of my attorney was like, I'll let you push the button because I get really nervous. I'm like, and that doesn't really bother me, because once I finish QCing and everything, I'm like, okay, just pushing a button. But I can see why it is more nerve-wracking for the attorney, to push that, because it's like their stuff their heart and soul is actually in there. So I'm like, happy to push the button here. Just give me the word and I'll take care of it. So I think that's sort of like how I founded BPG. And I think that we have like so many common friends, like Brandon. I didn't really know Ariana Roots. She's at Coinbase right now, right?
Yeah, she's the head of IP at Coinbase.
Yeah. So
She previously worked at Finnegan.
I mean, everybody
Yeah.
previously
A lot of people
worked at
did, yeah.
Finnegan. So I thought that was really interesting. Now, can we talk about, just divert the topics a little bit?
Yeah.
2 fun facts about Jason that most people do not know. Only your close friends know.
This is one that's interesting. It just came up recently. I went to a small school for undergrad, Allegheny College. The fun fact is I proposed to my wife using a brick that's in the sidewalk at the college. And they just posted on Instagram the other day, like, hey, by the way, did you know you can buy bricks? And this is like many years later. And I was like, wow, I actually commented, like, did you know I proposed to my wife using one of those bricks, like when they first started? And so, yeah, that's how I proposed to her. We met at Allegheny College. And so we went through undergrad together. And then we also went to law school together at Duquesne University in Pittsburgh. And she was 1 year below me. And I got an email from the school and it was like, you can buy these bricks and you can engrave it with whatever you want. And a lot of people would put like their name or their kid's name and like their, what the graduation year. And I said, you know what? I'm going to get a brick that says, Leanne, will you marry me? Love, Jason. And so I got it my second year of law school. And I wasn't ready to propose yet, but this was like the moment you had to buy the bricks. And so I talked to her friend and I said, I'm going to buy this brick. And she's like, well, what if it doesn't work out? And I was like, I don't know. The brick will just be there. Maybe
If invention of a game.
And so I bought the brick and I let it sit there for 2 years. It was just sitting up there, my proposal, for a couple of years. And I told my wife that there was going to be a fraternity like party at the college, like a reunion. And so I actually had somebody meet me up there and they put a rose, like they snuck up ahead of me and they put like a rose on the brick. So we walked around and I proposed on that brick. So I thought it would be cool because it's still there where we met. Yeah, not a lot of people know that. That's one fun fact. Another one, everyone knows this if you know me, I'm obsessed with wristwatches. I collect watches and I have since I worked at the patent office. My office mate, Rutao, and I at the patent office, we would just be obsessed with timezone.com. It was the early watch forums. And we were really, and Ozzy was another friend of mine. They're both at the patent office still. And we were really into the watches. You always had a couple watches, and lately, the last 4 or 5 years, I've collected more. But the fun fact is this year, this might seem really weird to a normal person, I'll say, but I committed to wearing one watch for the whole year, which is what normal people do. You just buy a watch and you wear it every day. But watch collectors like to change them up, and they like to buy and sell and do a lot of different things. So for this year, I created this in my watch group, the same watch, different day challenge. And a lot of folks did it like dry January, where you just like, I'm not going to drink for a month. They said, I'm going to wear the same watch for a month, which is actually a hard thing for a lot of folks that collect watches. And I said, you know what, I'm going to one up everyone. I'm going to do it all for 2025. So that's like my commitment for the year. Kind of like a palate cleanser. And then go into 2026 and kind of reevaluate collecting watches. So that's my challenge for the year.
That's pretty cool. Can you share a few founders? Since I talk about like my sort of like thought, I think sometimes it helps that I have always been a workaholic. So I just pick up like new interests all the time, and people think that this is my main gig. This is not my side hustle. It was like, you have another side hustle? I'm like, that is my main gig. Like filing. This is how I pay for all of this stuff. Can you share like your founder insights? Has it been like a year and a half for IP Copilot? How long has it been? And also, what are some of the major insights that you've gained as a founder?
It's been almost 2 years. I think in May, it'll be 2 years. It's a little over a year and a half since the company was founded. I joined in the end of September this past year. So it's only been, 4 or 5 months for me full time. There's been a lot of insights. We've raised 2 rounds, and like when we raised the rounds, I was not as involved as Austin was because I was an advisor, but I would come in and talk to the investors and give them my sense from like a subject matter expert, an advisor, and someone in the space. The fundraising process was interesting though. One thing that was really interesting to me was how kind of social venture capital folks are, and they use a lot of signal from those that they know and people within their network. It makes a lot of sense because they're all extremely bright, but masters of lots, or like they know a lot about, what's the phrase? They know a lot about it, but like master of none. Like they're not in
jack of all trades,
jack of all trades, master of none. And so they know a lot about technology and trends, sense of like what good founders are. But like you can't expect them to know like deep into the weeds about idea discovery within companies and like what makes a good patent filing and that sort of thing. And so they do rely a lot on their network for that, which was kind of, I've never seen like that process before. And so that was quite interesting. Like they would have folks in their network who are general counsels or partners at law firms and reach out, and then they would ask them questions. And now I've joined committees to like be one of the experts to kind of weigh in on some funding decisions. And so that process was something that I had not seen before. And it makes sense in hindsight, but it was kind of interesting. And I'm also experiencing I've never been at a company, at a startup like this, where you're building a product in flight. We have like a full stack from idea discovery through filing right now. And so that's fully out there, but we're building the rest of the stack right now. Budgeting, awards, natural language reporting. So you can just say, how many inventors did we have last quarter? How many new inventors did we have last year? And the AI just tells you, rather than the massive amount of work that it normally takes to do reporting. And so those features we're building over the next few months. And that's interesting too, building things in flight, describing it to customers. The other thing is that it's a big space. We have an in-house product, like I've described, but law firms very quickly asked us for the same thing, because essentially what we're doing is we take an idea and we instantly curate it. And so when you have an invention disclosure come in, we instantly do a prior art search and we analyze the results, and we actually tell you what is unique about a disclosure right away. So when you're making a filing decision internally, not only do you know that this is potentially new, but you know what's new about it. And so you're making the investment with so much more information. I can't tell you how many patents I've decided to file or written in the past where you think that A is the new thing. And then you get to the patent office and they find art on A and you end up settling for B or C or D. And then, in-house counsel comes back and says, well, I thought we were getting a patent on A. And now you can just know that like A is likely the thing you're entitled to get. You can also include that unique feature in your filing as like the emphasis in your claims and shorten your prosecution cycle, which saves millions of dollars in a big program. Focusing on the right thing at the right time, it gets you faster prosecution for that and less need for continuation. So anyways, that analysis is also really valuable for firms, even if their clients aren't using IP Copilot. They can take any invention disclosure, drag and drop it, enhance it, create an AI enhanced disclosure, and we also give them a head start on drafting the patent. And so law firms started asking for those types of products. What underpins IP Copilot is a prior art engine, and it's one of our super special proprietary things. It works extremely well. We don't use generative AI for it. It's traditional machine learning techniques that these guys have built. Because that underpins it, litigators started asking, can you do invalidity charts for us?
Oh my God. Yes.
And so what I'm getting at is there's a lot of opportunity out there, and we're a small team. Our 9th person just started yesterday, so it's still quite small. And we are like, where do you focus? And constantly reevaluating where we should be focusing all of our energy to build out these products and refine them in the most unique way. And one thing that's been a challenge is I'm of the type where I would like to focus forever and make it perfect. Like make this the most delightful, beautiful thing ever. Right. And Austin, the other founder, is more like, let's just get it like up to snuff and let's see like what people think. And it's a good mix because there's that pressure to like, let's just get it out there. And I'm like, oh, let's make it a little bit nicer. Let's make it a little bit nicer. That's like something. And there's no right answer to that. You just have to keep going with it and seeing what works. Eventually it'll all be perfect and very, very nice when the company's much bigger. But when you have a small team, you're always like, there's a push and a pull there. So that's been an interesting experience as well. The other interesting experience is like we do a lot of our marketing at conferences. I used to go to AIPLA conference every year when I was at Kenyon & Kenyon. And when we were at Capital One, we would go to IPO conference every year. But it's a whole nother view of the conference. We were at the sessions, especially when I was in-house. Folks would take you out to dinner.
Oh, yeah.
And then it's been a whole like another world being on like the vendor side and the sponsor side.
People out.
Yeah. Yeah, and so you're like in the basement during the sessions at IPO, like just talking, hoping people come talk to you, going out and like trying to, you're trying to get leads and you're trying to talk to folks and then share your product with them. And you're trying to get people to go out to dinner and you're taking them out to dinner. So that whole flip has been really interesting for me as well. Just seeing the conference circuit from the other side and meeting all of the other vendors and all that stuff. It's a whole nother world that I never knew existed because honestly, I never spent a lot of time walking around like the exhibitor sections of the conference. I was, at the sessions, I'd go get some coffee and I'd go back. But then it like flips and that's your world now. You're like you're in the exhibit section of the conferences, and it's a whole other thing that was happening all those years that I didn't pay too much attention to.
The biggest challenge is finding out what swag you want to actually get, for people. Yeah. Because it's like another bottle, nobody needs, tumbler, nobody needs, So what exactly, do you want to do that is actually useful?
Yeah.
So I thought that was really a good challenge. And so for me, part of it is like, you got a t-shirt, you got your tote. But at one point I thought that the most popular one that we have is actually puzzles.
Puzzles is smart, yeah.
Yeah, puzzles, because I have...
Are they branded? So when you do the puzzle, it shows your logo, or are they just...
No. So VPG actually, in the beginning, I was like, because it's via Zoom, and I have all my teams actually remote. They're young folks. And sometimes we don't really know each other, so it's really hard to engage with people. And I didn't really quite know what I was doing. I mean, I've been a case manager, but, running your own company is a different ballgame. So I was like, oh, I can't really, get these people to talk. So at one point, I decided that if you were an animal, what animal would you be? And then people started talking. Just assume the personality. So if you look at my website, everybody has, I think 95% of people actually has an animal avatar.
Oh, wow. That's cool.
So I'm an owl.
You're an owl.
I'm an owl. And then...
because you stay up late?
Because I'm wise.
Because you're wise. Okay. That's true.
I actually don't stay up late, generally speaking, but for filing. And then we have hippo.
Yeah.
We have a llama. That actually, she's a photographer, fashion designer from Argentina. Because COVID, you can actually get anybody, right? I mean, she didn't really do that much. I just like to connect with people. So we just have that. And the illustrator for the puzzles, she started with me when she was like 17. I know her mother. Her mother and I used to work together at Finnegan. And she goes like, hey, are you hiring somebody? My daughter might be available. I said, what's she good at? Oh, she's good at drawing. Okay, great. I'll find something for her to do. So she illustrates so many things. If you look at the website, she's amazing. She's no longer with us, but she still do like freelancer illustrating stuff for me. The book that I gave you, Collaborating in Competitive Ecosystem, All Those Animals, is my habitat. It's built in the PTAB village, PETAB.
That's cute. I
So
love that.
that's like so cute, you
Yeah.
know. It's like because the work itself can be so mind-numbingly tedious.
Yeah.
And if you don't have like good people supporting you, working with you, or actually just working with you, not necessarily supporting me, but just work together, I think that would just make life so difficult.
The swag is one of the fun parts. I think at Capital One, we had a really strong swag game. Our team was like brilliant. Well, when I joined Capital One, we did not have the large office that they have now that on the new campus. The legal team was still like behind Tyson's Corner. There's like the shopping bag building, I call it. And we were on like the 7th or 8th floor.
Tower
there.
Crescent?
Yeah, Tower
Okay.
Crescent. Yep, I think it was number 1. I can't remember, but right there. And I remember walking in my first day, and it's a cubicle farm, like tall cubicles. So you couldn't see anybody. But I walked back, and there's this giant rainbow unicorn. And at that point, did not have a name. And Ariana had come up with this with the inventors. It turned into Patty the Patent Unicorn. And so we had an amazing swag game. We did shirts. I mean, we did challenge coins. We did rainbow socks. Like, it was really cool. So that was always like one of the most fun things, is trying to figure out what would get folks engaged and like what would get folks. Because we did, with a company that big, it was essentially conferences within the company. We would have tables at the cafeterias at the different offices around the country, even in the UK and in Canada. We would set up essentially like a conference situation, almost as a vendor, and that we're trying to get folks to come and talk to us about the patent program and let them know that we're there. And so at IP Copilot, it's similar. Like, that's one of the more fun things that we do, is come up with the swag we're going to do for different conferences. We've done our thing so far that's been most successful are these really beautiful mugs, and they're handmade in, I think, Minnesota. And we have our brand, you know, our logo real big on them. And I have 3 at home. I use them every day. Like, they're really nice mugs. And the reason we found them was because in South Carolina, there's a little diner that my family and I will go to on vacation, and they have these really nice mugs, and it's the same brand. After a few years, I said, "Do you guys sell these? They're so nice. Like, I would like to drink coffee out of this every day." And they said, "We do." And so it's called Blueberries Grill. And so I have a blue Blueberries Grill mug. And Austin, we were on Zoom one day talking about swag, and he lifted up his coffee cup. He had from a different diner, but the same brand. I was like, "Do you like that mug?" And he's like, "I really like the mug." And it was actually Austin's idea to do it as swag. I was hesitant at first because they're somewhat fragile. It's a mug. And I was like, people are going to, it takes up a little bit of space. And if you're traveling, you might not have space in your luggage to take it. But we tried it anyways. And we sell out of them every single time. People love them, the mugs. And they're heavy. And it's a lot of work to get them to and from.
Those that, like, what type of material? Is it like porcelain, or what is the...
I think it's ceramic.
Ceramic, okay.
Yeah, I can't remember what it is. I think it's like a ceramic mug. I'll bring you one the next time.
I'll go to Arlington. Maybe we could get Jonathan to go out to lunch with us.
Yeah, I'll get you guys each IP Copilot mugs. We use it every day. That's worked well. There's also a local baker in the Northern Virginia area, and Scott Kelly from Banner Wyckoff, who I know quite well, lives in the same neighborhood, and he recommended these cookies. She bakes cookies and hand decorates them.
What's the name of the place?
I'll have to get the name for you. I can't remember the name. It's just her name. She bakes them at home, and you go to her house and pick them up. Took my little daughter, Charlotte, who's 6, to go pick them up for the IP Watchdog conference last year in September. And I said, "Charlotte, you want to go?" And she's like, "This is weird, Dad. We're picking up cookies from somebody's house." Like, she thought we were supposed to be at a bakery or like at Safeway or something like that. But anyways, they're really delicious cookies and just beautifully decorated. And she did our IP Copilot rocket ship logo by hand on every single one for a couple hundred cookies. Those were really popular too, because who doesn't like a good cookie?
I have my own supplier for cookies too.
Oh, you do?
I think she's in Brambleton now. I'm not 100% sure. Korean American, and she does like amazing art. It sells out so fast. They're not inexpensive. So I had her decorated each animals.
Oh, that's great. Yeah.
Like for the team and for some other things. And I had her do like my VPG logo.
Can't go wrong with cookies.
Yeah. That's really cool. Can you talk about how collaboration and innovation are important in what you do?
I think it's really important. Innovation at Capital One, I used to do talks all the time to the team, trying to convince them that they're inventors. And they are folks who have ideas and trying to get them to share them with us. And I had 2017, there was a hockey stick graph, and it just went up. And I used to always tell them, in 2017, we did a lot. We hired Ariana, then I joined. Brandon joined shortly thereafter. He was already a secondee when I joined. So we grew a team. We came up with Patty the Patent Unicorn. We told you there's a patent program, great swag, all this stuff. But what we didn't do is hire a single inventor because you were an inventor. Like, we hired people, but we didn't go out and like hire a bunch of inventors. And so the point was, all of these ideas and all of these patent filings were already here in your head. Like you already were coming up with them. And so there is this collaborative effect of in-house counsel working with the inventor community to let them know that like your ideas are valuable to the company, they're strategic, and this is what we're looking for. That's a lot of manual work to go out. As far as collaboration, you want to find, you have this collaboration between in-house counsel and your inventor community, and there's this education, but it's almost not particular collaboration between folks. You want to build like this culture within teams that can survive individual contributors. We had the Capital One Lab, great culture for patenting. And no matter who left and went to another area of the company or whoever left the company altogether, there's a lot of folks that boomerang back. But as the makeup of teams change over time, you have this culture that can survive and just constantly is there. It's very hard to build. And part of the reason we built IP Copilot is to make it so much easier for inventors to share their ideas. A lot of the culture is, what is a good patent idea? What triggers me sharing something with you? And my test is, do you think it's cool? Because everybody, I think, is really smart at a lot of things. And if it strikes you as cool, it's likely that it's not obvious, and it's likely that it could be new. And so if it's rooted in technology and you think it's cool, bring it over. It's worth my time. And part of IP Copilot is to automatically recognize things for inventors that are cool. And whenever they have projects, a hackathon presentation, a paper that they wrote that they think is cool, number one office hours topic is, I did this thing. Is this something that you're looking for? I think it might be, but I'm not sure, and I don't want to waste your time. Folks are very, very cognizant of the time that they're wasting, especially when they're talking to the legal department.
Oh, yeah.
They don't want to waste your time. They don't want to be on the bad side of the legal department, but they're very, very cognizant and appreciative of the time that you're spending. They don't want to waste it. And so for IP Copilot, if you have that hackathon project, you just drag and drop it, and it identifies the ideas for the inventor. Then it's one click, and then they submit a robust disclosure with one click to the team. And we also have something that can go into your Jira where the engineers work, and it provides a real-time feed of the ideas that are happening in those Jira tickets that are being generated by the engineers. And so it's like having IP counsel collaborating with the inventor community in real time, because in real time you have a feed of the innovation of your company, and you can still do the outreach and the education, you always should, but you can target it, and you can start meeting the right inventors at the right time, rather than the group of inventors who you were able to meet with today, whether or not they're working on something particularly innovative that day or not. So there's a huge value in that, because it's, you're 1 to 1,000 people or 1 to 10,000 people as a portfolio manager. And so where you're spending your time is so important. So being able to target the right inventors at the right time and collaborate with the right folks at the right time, super valuable.
One thing I wanted to comment on is that it's
Yeah.
so easy to talk to you because you're smiling like the entire time.
You too.
Cool, like-
You too.
Wrapping it up, what words of wisdom do you have for Gen Zers who wanted to enter into AI or like tech or the legal space? Anything that you wanted to?
I think no matter what a Gen Zer does, they're going to be entering AI. There's no choice. No matter what you do, whether it's art, creating music, creating video games, a medical career, a legal career, I think AI is going to touch everything that we do. I also think that, there's this perception that AI is going to take everyone's jobs. And AI might replace some jobs, but I think it's going to largely replace jobs that those people couldn't have been that happy crunching numbers in Excel nonstop. So I think it's going to open up spaces that people can be more creative and do things that are a bit more strategic. And so my advice would be to do whatever excites you, whatever you think is interesting. You're going to be working with AI, but think of AI as an assistant. Just like the very first law firm I ever worked at, there was an older lawyer who didn't have a computer. He sat at a desk, he got paper cases in the mail as the cases issued and read them and knew them. And then when he wrote a brief, he dictated into a thing, gave it to her secretary. She would write it up. He would mark up the printout, and then she would change it and file it. That process doesn't need to happen, obviously. No one does that anymore. Word processing, spell check, those things are now that's the way that everybody was working except for him at that time 20 years ago. Just like that, word processing and computers and Westlaw changed the way folks practice law. AI is going to change the way that a lot of people do work, but I think it's really just going to be an assistant that cuts through a lot of the busy work, things that you don't really need to do, and you get to actually do more strategic work. A non-legal example is I'm the president of Lion Village civic association. And there's a building that's going up where the Walgreens is on Lee Highway there. And there's 4 civic associations we're meeting tonight. And we have various positions on our comments to the plan for the development. And last night, someone sent me all the positions and they said, well, it would be really nice if we could see like where we all agree on, and we could figure out how we could write a joint letter to the board. Then we could write our own letter that's our specific positions. And it would be nice to know for the meeting tonight, like where everybody stands. And so I took the 4 letters and I put them in the ChatGPT and I said, make me a table of all of the positions and then write me a letter where we all agree, and then write me a letter for our civic association. And that was hours of work for someone to read all of these, figure out all the positions, do it all, and it did it in a minute.
So I said earlier, we have some illustrators. And within my team, the people that are data analytics, the people who are computer science, super comfortable with like ChatGPT or Claude.ai. I think there are people that are more like content creator. Mm-hmm. Sometimes they are comfortable with a certain program. I think for me, some of my illustrators have very strong feelings about AI, generative, like Midjourney. To them, it's like taking their job away. For that type of profession, I think they have a lot of hang up. And because they are creators in that sense, it seems to me that they have a lot more hesitation of using AI because it's no longer original. You see like on LinkedIn, everybody's like putting on Midjourney or whatever program it is, generating something. One time there was an influencer. I have no idea who that was. And then they just put me down as one of the 4 to follow. And then they obviously use probably Midjourney to do it, trying to basically put my brand out. And then it's PTAP, but they spell things wrong. You have a lot of fine tuning. So I use chat to basically do a lot of drafting, but never the final,
Yeah, I agree. Well, you mentioned LinkedIn. You know immediately when you look at an image on LinkedIn whether it's AI or not. You can tell immediately. And to bring it all the way back to wristwatches.
Yes, of course. We cannot
not talk
about wristwatches.
I think that AI can make images and they can make art in quotes. But at the same time, there will be even more demand for art that's purely from humans. Just like you can buy a $10 Casio, but folks are buying luxury wristwatches that cost hundreds of thousands of dollars because they're made by hand and because they have the human touch. And you can tell the difference. And I think you can still tell the difference in art. And AI is going to get better. But I think that human element, and to bring it all the way back to patents,
yes.
Patents are art. There's a lot of technical detail in there, but it's a story that's being told about an invention, and there's advocacy and there's art that I don't think AI is going to replace, maybe ever. Whenever I'm looking at outside counsel, I have this test that I have. It's the 2 sleep test. No matter who you're talking to outside counsel wise, they'll say they can do your fee. I always ask, how much time does someone actually have to do a patent application? And sometimes it's 12 hours, 8 hours at their rates. And I say that's not 2 sleeps, because I think there's something really special that happens when you work on something as a person for a day and you go to sleep and your mind grinds on it and thinks about it. And then you walk the dog in the morning and you jump in the shower and something clicks. And then you go to work and you change the claim a little bit, or you change the story you're telling, and then do that one more time. And that's like the art process that I think is happening. That's a story being told. That's like the human mind manipulating this piece of art, really, over a period of time. And you can't replace 2 sleeps with AI. I don't think you'll ever be able to.
No. The other book that I had, Collaborating in Competitive Ecosystem, is with one illustrator, but I also am collaborating with another illustrator. She's 20 years old. Really amazing art. And yesterday we were like, because we're doing a literary launch in February for the ethical leadership, I was like, oh, we should do a retractable banner. So within 4 hours, we got it all done for Andy. And that's a gift from us to him for flying out here to do this. So yeah. I thought that was really good to basically putting the Gen Zers who are creative to be able to meet the business community.
Yeah.
I think that's really cool.
Really cool.
Well, on that note, I just wanted to thank you
for
coming. And I hope that this has been enjoyable as your first podcast.
Wonderful. Couldn't have asked for a better first podcast.
Now you are a pro.
Now I'm a pro. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Jason.
Thanks, Ashley.